Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition, another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am Al Richards, and I've got my good buddy, JD, here with me. JD, great to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you again, Al, for having me here.
Oh, absolutely. And gosh, our shows are they're piling up. I mean, JD always seems to, at a drop of a hat, he'll be here. But now that he's the co-host, he has to drive a long ways to come to the studio.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half every time.
Yeah. So, he texted me, I don't know, a while ago, and he's like, I'm trying to get there. Traffic is bad. And I'm like, hey, man, just get here safe. But everything worked out really good. So, JD, thank you for everything that you do. And hey, we got a great show. We have Melissa Christopher with us from New Mexico, right? All the way from New Mexico.
Yeah, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your morning. I know it's been a rush morning for you too, because you do yoga, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I just want to share a little bit about Melissa. So let's see if I can read a bio without screwing it up for once, because I always seem to do it. So Melissa Christopher is a visibility and transformational coach. After successfully healing her own inner wounds and fears of being visible, Melissa became inspired to help other women gain their inner confidence, true voice, and authenticity, so they too can create the impact they dream of and confidently share their gifts with the world. See, I just have it in my head. I got to get it out of my head. So Melissa also has spent the majority of her career in the coaching industry, gaining experiences working with the subconscious mind with modalities such as EFT and NLP. Now, I took a class on NLP. That's some pretty cool stuff. Mm-hmm. Inner child work, Reiki, which I've had some Reiki work done. That is also really cool, as well as cultivating her intuitive gifts. Melissa is a Reiki master and yoga teacher who believes in working to align mind, body, and spirit to help her clients create lasting change. Melissa is committed to helping more women step fully into their gifts by shining their divine and brilliant light. And I love the end of that. And the reason why I want to say I love that is my wife, has battled alcoholism for quite a few years. And I'm grateful to say she just hit 9 months sober on the 9th of September. So she's doing really well.
Yes.
But by helping women align and shine their divine is something that my wife is finally getting. She's finally realizing she's worth it, that there's nothing wrong with her, because she's been told basically she's just a piece of crap all her life. And we believe that as much as we don't want to, especially as young children. We get that in our head, and we may not realize it's in there festering until we start getting into adulthood. And yeah, and it affects just not women, it affects men too.
Yes,
but
yes.
I love what you're doing, because I have met other women as well that just don't look at themselves like they're worth it. And our friend Mallory, who has been on the show, I was watching a podcast she did the other day with Todd Sylvester, and she said, everybody deserves to be here in this world, and everybody deserves to shine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is, the reason that I kind of came to that awareness. So beautiful to hear about your wife really kind of owning that truth. And I think in my journey, I spent so much of my life not feeling good enough, not feeling like I was worthy or deserving. And I ended up living a lot of my life in darkness. The drugs and the alcohol completely took that light away from me, almost to the point where it was non-existent, where it was just a almost little itty bitty little dim little flame that was begging and crying for me to, save my life. And so I think now that I've stepped into a totally different reality and a different life and actually live in the light, I'm so grateful, because it's so where we're all meant to be, in this light, in the world where we're shining. not covered by darkness and fear and doubt and all the stuff that comes,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point. And it takes us a while to get it. I mean, unfortunately, Mark Richards at the alumni thing the other day got up and talked, and he shared how grateful he was to see so many people that has gone through his program and has made it. And there are others that it's sad to say they don't get that opportunity because the addiction basically takes their life. And that's where I saw my wife even get to the point, to where the last time when she went on her drinking binge, she came close to killing herself.
Yeah, I'm tearing up right now thinking about it, because, my whole life, I think, kind of short basis, but, my mom basically committed suicide when I was 2 months old. And, that wound in my heart basically stayed with me to the point where I was so, I felt like responsible. I felt like it was my fault, all the things. And I was angry, and then my dad married this other woman that was super abusive to me. It was just beyond, would tell me things like my mom killed herself because of me.
Oh, geez.
Would lock me, in a closet, and just horrible, abusive behavior. So long story short, when I became a teenager, and I had this kind of freedom, I found drugs, I found drugs and alcohol. And I think I was in my own heart somewhat suicidal because I just didn't, I was so angry at God for taking my mom. And there was a part of me that just felt like I wanted to test it, like if you can take her, you can take me. And so I took everything and anything that I could, and, to the point of overdosing more than once. And
oh my goodness.
That's really painful to look back at, because there's a lot of friends or people that I knew in this circle that are no longer with us because they, took that one extra pill, or they, shot up heroin or whatever. This is, people that were in that circle, and they just never got a second chance, and in a lot of ways, it used to make me feel not guilty, but just overwhelmed at times that I was given second chances when other people that did a lot less than me aren't here today,
Yeah, it's definitely a hard pill to swallow, because I know there was a lot of gals that my wife went to rehab with, and she would get a phone call, and I could see that her heart was being broken, and she'd get off the phone. I'm like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, do you remember so and so that I introduced you to one time, or whatever, or we went to like a sober day type event or whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "She just overdosed and lost her life." And I heard that. See, now I'm getting emotional. I heard that so many times throughout my wife's battle of getting sober, and it scared the living hell out of me, because I was watching my wife kind of do the same thing in front of me, and I did a talk last night at a rehab center. And one thing that I told the people that I was talking to, I'm like, if you think I'm standing here to blame everything on my wife, you're wrong. Because me being on the other side, I did so many things wrong. I threw a lot of daggers at my wife. She was already like what you just shared. You were hurting inside. There were things that you were battling inside, and you were doing what you needed to do to help numb that pain. And a lot of us do it. And just watching that with my wife and seeing the things that I did wrong. I mean, it took me 7 years to figure it out. So I don't blame everything on my wife. I blame a lot of stuff even basically, I had a gentleman, a young man asked me yesterday, do you blame yourself for some of the things that you did? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Because I was also pushing her to that edge, not realizing I was doing it,
Yeah.
but I was doing it, and yeah, I mean, I could have pushed her over the edge as well. But what age, Melissa, now you said your mom committed suicide when you were at 2 months.
Mhm.
What age did you know what happened to your mom? I mean, you didn't know at 2 months, right? Because you were too young to know. But how did you find out? Because I couldn't imagine being told that as a young child.
Yeah, it was, it's interesting because I think with a lot of trauma survivors, you kind of like black things out. You kind of, in a lot of my childhood up until I was maybe 5 or 6, I don't remember. I think a lot of crazy and things just were happening. And when my dad, actually, I think maybe one of the first times that it registered is when my dad married this. She was also a widow. And I wrote about this in the book that I just wrote, which was really interesting because I didn't know it was still so in my consciousness. But he married this woman, and she was also a recent widow. And before they got married, she seemed very, she put her best face on. But then as soon as they got married, she was very emotionally and mentally unstable, and really, she was abused as a child, and she took out that abusive kind of pattern on me. And I think one of the first times that I remember hearing that was from her telling me, your mother killed herself because of you. You're a worthless.
Oh, so it was from her.
I mean, I'm sure that I probably heard it, from my dad, maybe from my sisters, but I don't think I really registered because I was so young and everything kind of happened all at once. And I think all of a sudden we moved to New Mexico, and then all of a sudden he was married to this woman, and it kind of was just a lot was going on. So I think I'm sure that, we talked about it, and I knew kind of that I knew she wasn't there. And I knew that this woman wasn't my mom, but she would tell me that every day. So really that got stuck into my head that it was my fault,
Oh,
and so that really, really devastated me. It has my whole life. I've spent years and years and years and years in therapy and all the things to try to heal that wound, which is what I think honestly led me in a lot of ways to my addictions, because I just felt like I wasn't deserving or worthy, or that it was my fault, and that really, really killed me for many, many, many years.
Especially here at, what did you say, the age of 5? I mean, I remember reading a book one time, and the person who wrote the book said that she was singing once when she was a young girl. And I think it was a stepmom as well. And the mom told her to shut the hell up because she cannot sing. And she said she never sang a song, even by herself, ever again, because she thought she was terrible, and it wasn't until she got into her adulthood, and one day she just decided to start singing a song, and somebody's like, oh my gosh, you got a beautiful voice. Why don't you sing more often? And she's like, I do. So we hold that trauma in, and so many of us do hold that trauma that, like you said, it was probably maybe pushed down deep, and you wasn't realizing until you started hitting a certain age and it started festering.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you say that, because I'm also a singer and an actress, and I remember ever since I was a little girl, I like would put costumes on and perform and stuff, and she would tell me, you are horrible, you can't sing, you're stupid, you're never gonna, all this stuff. So I was so afraid to sing or do anything, because she would, she really terrified me, and beat me and manipulated me and all the things. So I used to have to hide in a corner, turn off all the lights, and sing, because my sister or her friends would ask me to sing because they're like, you have a beautiful voice. But I'd be so afraid to be seen and heard that I'd have to turn off all the lights to do it. And it's just
Wow.
amazing that this is like the work that now I do to help others, because I think this has been my biggest transformation, is feeling safe to come out and put myself, be a coach, put myself out there, write stories, have a voice, talk to you, has been such a process of saying, I'm not that little girl anymore. I'm safe. I'm okay. It's been, I can't even tell you how transformative and how much of a process it's been to do that inner work and arrive at feeling confident and safe to be here.
And good for you to recognize it. So where I'd like to take this right now is, you got yourself in a pretty dark spot.
Yeah.
You said that, you were drinking, using drugs, and going down a bad path. Share a little bit about what that dark path, where it really took you. And then when that light bulb finally went off, what do you go?
Yeah, no,
go,
on
JD.
that way, on that path, I'm taking some notes here and stuff, because your story resonates really close in the aspect of my sister. She actually passed away. It'll be 2 years this December, but she passed away from an overdose on opioids. And it was never like the way that it was set up and stuff. It wasn't intentional. I know that, and I believe that. It's just she had more than her body at that point could take. But with that being said, like you talked about not feeling deserving or feeling worthy, right? And I know she challenged those things as well. She's just to kind of give you a spill back on my sister and stuff. She battled depression. She I can't remember what they gave or what they called it, but she's like antisocial. She doesn't do good with social settings. Like she paranoia, like she instantly thought people would be judging her, talking about her, and she'd be the farthest thing away from their mind, honestly, but that's just how she was as a person. But she also too felt that she wasn't deserving and worthy and stuff. And I mean, I tried to get my sister help, but with that, she also felt like taking narcotics or drinking alcohol was a way for her. She also too wanted acceptance and attention. Do you feel like you did those same things to try to see if it would make it so they would actually be like, maybe we should change our tune and help our daughter?
Oh yeah. Yes. And I'm so sorry to hear about your sister. That brings tears to my eyes, just because I almost died from opioids as well. We'll get there in a minute, but I send you so much love.
So yeah, it's not easy. Long story short, my mom's in opioids, and so like it was a way that and I love my mom and stuff, and I don't blame anybody. Like my sister had her choices to make, obviously, but it was a way those two, it was like their one thing they could have that brought them together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And so like I don't ever want to blame my mom for it, but I do believe that if she wouldn't have introduced that to my sister would still be here.
Yeah.
But she had, and I've talked to a medium and stuff. I've connected with my sister, and like I believe in that power. And she recognizes that it was her choice to make that decision, and she's in a good place now. But it was really hard. Really, me and my sister were very close, and like it was just the one thing I couldn't stop or I couldn't save.
Yeah, I send you so much love for that. And again, I'm so sorry for your loss. To go back to the question that you asked, was I trying to have find that, I think you said, find that worthiness or deservingness, or have something.
Yeah. So you felt like you were not deserving or worthy, but also did you partake in opioids, or were you partaking in supplements, alcohol, other things that obviously took you down a bad path?
Yeah.
Were you doing that also too, and hoping for a reversed or an adverse reaction to where they would give you, acceptance or attention and help and want to give you that love that you were obviously striving to fill? There's a void there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that, my dad, I love him with all my heart. I think he did the best he could, but he was emotionally frozen. When he lost my mom, he found her, and she, was on the floor, and he found her. And I think that absolutely devastated him. He had 3 baby girls to raise. And I think he really, really blamed himself. So emotionally, I feel like he was frozen, and he, married this other woman, and kind of, I think he did the best he could to survive. But all of us were struggling so much. And I always just wanted his attention. I always just wanted his love, but he was working so much to put food on the table and all the stuff. So I think when I found drugs when I was, 13, 12 or 13, it was like I was acting out. I just wanted him to see me. I just wanted somebody to see me, and that it was like I had no consequence. Like I literally could go to a rave for, 4 days and not be home, and just take as many drugs as possible and come home covered in dirt and glitter and all the, and there was no kind of consequence. And so I think I just kept pushing harder and harder because I wanted that love. I wanted to know that I was seen. I wanted to know that he cared, that he saw me, that I was struggling. And that was a really, really hard lesson to learn, because that never happened. No matter how much I pushed it, it just never got to the point where someone came in and saved me. There were so many times I just wish someone would have thrown me in rehab or done something, because, from the time I was 13, I started with ecstasy. And I just remember the feeling of taking that first pill of ecstasy, where it was like all the pain, all the sorrow, everything just went away. And I just was like, this is a feeling I want to feel for the rest of my life. So I just went for it, and started dating, of course, a drug dealer that gave me free drugs, and probably took ecstasy every weekend, multiple times a week for like years, 8 years, 10 years. And then, moved into basically opioids, which it's interesting, I didn't even know what they were. I got my tonsils out, and my boyfriend at the time was like, oh my God, do you know what these are? And I was like, yeah, it's a pain pill. He was like, yeah, but you got to suck the time release off and snort it. You got to like get high. And I was like, what are you talking about? So we did that, and fast forward, I don't even know how many years, we were, selling all the pill. We were somehow getting these pills from this woman. We'd get like 80 pills, and we would do all 80 pills in like a week. I was doing probably 10 80s a fucking day. I don't know how.
Wow.
I don't know how I was doing that, but it was intense. It was really, really intense. And then I moved back. I moved to New York, kind of like, again, didn't go to rehab. Somehow I got into this acting school, one of the best acting schools in the world, actually. And my boyfriend at the time, I remember I was detoxing like so intensely. Like I was literally, from doing 1080s a day to not doing it, I was basically on the floor, shaking, throwing up. I should have gone to the hospital, honestly. But then somebody introduced me to cocaine. And from that point on, it just went way, way, way into cocaine addiction. And I was getting it all for free. And then back to the pill addiction. It was just this crazy situation for years and years, and always wanting someone. When I moved to New York, it was like, I remember I went to my sister and was like, I need help. I need help. Somebody help me. And she was like, I didn't even know, you had an addiction. Wow. I guess I was really good at hiding it. I was good at hiding it. But like you were saying, I was always just acting out for that love, for that attention. And it just got so bad. And then I realized, basically through one of my overdoses, woke up and was like, there's just something that a voice that came to me and was just basically like, you know, if you don't change, you're going to die. Like this is like your last, like you have, you know, I was like 80 pounds, cracked out, living in LA, trying to be an actress.
And that's pretty extreme, going back and forth, like you said, going from pills to cocaine, you know, some downers to a very high up. Yeah, I've seen that motion of people and stuff, and
that's a hell of a seesaw.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think I ever realized how bad it was until I had space from it, because it just, my tolerance got so high and it had become so much of my life for such a long time. You know, and I just feel so grateful that I made it out alive, you know, because my ex-boyfriend who introduced me to opioids is no longer with us because he died from them. And many people along my path that I met, like I said, that have done less than me or didn't spend, you know, 15 years in heavy drug addiction are no longer with us. And I think it just makes me, it's just hard to reflect on that is the path that I chose, that I just wanted somebody to save me. But at the end of the day, what I realized is that, you know, if I can't, like, just doing this, no one was going to come and save me. And I had to save myself. And that was a really hard lesson because I was angry. I was pissed off. I just wanted someone, something, somebody to save me. And I realized that if I don't save myself, I'm going to die. And I think that was the final straw of being like, oh my God, like, wow, you know, you have to do something.
What age were you, Melissa, when that light bulb finally went off that you knew no one was coming?
I think I was 25, maybe 24. And like I said, I had been in heavy drug addiction from the time I was like 13 to 25. I don't even know how many years that is. Whoever's good with math. Yeah. That's like 15 years. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah.
And I had moved to LA to try to have a better life, but I was, you know, dating a drug dealer. And I basically, you know, when I moved to LA, we were going there to try to get away from drugs and, you know, have this other life. And, you know, within like a month of living there, he was selling ecstasy again. You know, he was selling cocaine. We had a flop house. There was 5 guys on the couch. I was working as a cocktail waitress that would get home, you know, or I'd get off work at 4:00 and then I'd go do cocaine all night. And then I'd come back at, you know, whatever in the morning. Then I'd do it all over again. I mean, it was just crazy. And then, you know, I think just that there was just, it just went on like this for months. And you know, I think I had mixed a lot of drugs that night. I did probably like 4 or 5 pills of ecstasy, probably some pain pills. I did some, you know, cocaine, drank a lot. And I remember just going up the stairs. I could barely walk. And I caught myself in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself. Like I absolutely looked like a vampire. I was black. I was dark. I was like leaving this world, you know, and this voice had been telling me so many times, like, you got to like, please stop. But I don't know. In that moment, it was like something bigger than me came in and just made me see how much I was disappearing, you know?
Wow.
And seeing myself in that mirror as an absolute vampire and not even recognizing who I was, not even being able to stand up and being so fucked up and like shaking and, you know, just being in this space, like in that moment, I don't even know what came over me, but I had never said the word God because I was angry at him for taking my mom.
Right.
So I had no like affiliation of something higher. I don't know. And in that moment, I just like broke down. I started crying so hard and I just said, God, please change my life because I cannot do this on my own. Like, please change my life. And I am just so grateful that moment came to me because I listened, and like the next maybe 4 hours or 5 hours, I got a phone call and I was asked to audition for this independent feature film in Idaho, but I'd have to leave the next day and I'd have to drive 15 hours across the country to do it. And at the end of the phone call, he said, "This will change your life." And when he said that, it felt like a lightning bolt just went down my heart, because I knew that's exactly what the prayer I had just asked for. Please change my life. And
Yeah.
so I decided, I don't give a shit what I need to do, where I need to go, how this is going to happen, but I'm getting in that car and I'm leaving today. So yeah, I think I was like 25.
Wow. I'm sitting here with goosebumps. I mean, seriously, that, and with you saying that you were looking in the mirror and for the first time in a long time that you asked God for help, we were talking about that in our talk yesterday at that rehab center, that whether you believe in God or you don't, or a higher power, whether it be the universe or not, my wife said this to somebody and it really stuck with me, is that pick something that's greater than you. Because there are people out there who are battling addictions that don't believe in God, because maybe like you, they're angry. Maybe God took something away from them. Maybe they feel like it's God's fault because they're battling this addiction. But to pick something higher than you. My wife said she was at a talk once when she was in a rehab, and this guy got up and said that his higher power was a goldfish. He had a goldfish in a fish tank, and that was his higher power, but it worked for him.
Yeah.
Or a rock or a mountain. I mean, anything. And I think one of the reasons why I got goosebumps so bad is I'm going to share a little bit about my story, what I was going through. So I had a job that was extremely stressful, had a lot on my plate. And my Fridays and Saturdays were spent doing cocaine and drinking. I mean, that was my release. And then Sunday, I got my shit together, and then I'd work my ass off all week. And then Friday and Saturday, I was so good at hiding it. My wife had no clue. She knew I was drinking,
Right.
but she had no clue I was doing anything else, because I just wasn't one of those ones that got all jittery and clenched the jaw or whatever. I just went along and was just having a great time,
Yeah.
And we had some friends over once, and we always had friends over, family, and we were playing cards, or we'd be out in the garage shooting darts, listening to the music. And I remember I walked in to the restroom in our bedroom, and I did the same thing that you did. I looked in the mirror and I said, "God, I need help, because I cannot continue to do this." I was about 198 pounds, most I've ever weighed my whole life. I thought I looked good until I saw a picture of me with my shirt off. And then I was like, damn, I look like shit. And I've always prided myself on looking physical fit, or, looking decent. Yeah, I just remember. And what was so weird is I can't remember if it was that same night, but I went to the restroom and I ended up getting dizzy, and I fell over and fell into the tub, took the shower, curtain down, and my wife and her girlfriends comes running in. Here I am sitting sideways in the tub, and of course my stuff's hanging out because I was going to the bathroom. And they're like, "What the hell?" And that started waking me up.
Yeah.
And God, He helped me. He helped me, not the way I wanted, but I don't know how long it went. Shortly after that, I lost my job. A job
Now
of
I'm
20,
getting goosebumps.
a job of 24 years. I lost my job.
Wow.
And this was shortly after my wife and I got married. We got married in May of 2009. July of 2009, I lost my job. August of 2009, she lost her dad. And she just shared, when she got her 9 months chip, she goes, "When my husband lost his job, he quit drinking. I quit everything."
Wow.
Because I wanted to find out who I was as a person.
Right.
Seeing where your life is right now, which on the second half, we definitely want to get into that. But when we were just at this past weekend at a thing that they had downtown Salt Lake called Recovery Day, And one of the other gals who's been a guest co-host, matter of fact, she's going to be on our show tomorrow to share her story. But we were talking as we were heading back to our booth, and I'm like, would you ever imagine that we would be in a place like this where we're surrounded with rehabs and people who have battled addictions? And she's like, no. I'm like, yeah, me neither. God has a way, whether we like it or not, or we don't like how he's doing it, of putting us on a whole different path. And what you shared, you got your answer really quick. Like you said, it was like a bolt of lightning just hit and said, here it is. And you were listening, which was good, because a lot of us don't listen. We ask, but then we don't hear what's being said. But that is so cool that you shared that, because when you were sharing that, I was picturing me looking in the mirror,
Wow.
asking God the same thing.
I got goosebumps on your story. I got so many goosebumps. That was crazy. So yeah, hearing your story is beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And, it's interesting because that was when I left. It was such a, I didn't go to rehab. I didn't have a treatment center. I didn't have professional kind of help to help me untangle all of this. And so it was it was the most destructive years, not in a way of hurting myself, but in a way of like, just, I went from I stopped the drugs, but then I had to go to alcohol because I had such bad withdrawals from the drugs, and I hadn't been away from a chemical drug in 15 years. So
yeah.
I had like night sweats and withdrawals and all this stuff. And so I started drinking a lot, and then, kind of beginning to realize like, well, that's not sustainable. And so it was just, then I got into therapy and really started diving deep into the internal healing that needed to happen. I stopped running for the first time in my life. And that, it was just the most intense and hardcore kind of, next probably 5 to 8 years where I really had to dig deep into knowing myself and healing and, going through the program and all the stuff. It was just like, it was, I like to call it bootleg rehab because
I like that term. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, I was just like, but there was just this drive in me that was like, I can never go back there again. I can't, I don't want to die. And so it was really making that choice to change, to go in that direction, to follow that path. I'm very grateful I did, but the next years to come were really, it took so much bravery and courage to know myself, to face myself, to kind of go through this whole process of understanding who the hell I even was,
Yeah.
It's amazing too that, you talk about your bootleg recovery, and going through rehab that way. And a lot of people, don't feel like that's the route that's best for them, and it's, I'm glad that I'm very grateful that you made it. Oh no, what happened? So, but I'm grateful that you made it through it. Because there's a lot of people that have that intention in mind that they want to get through it. They want to be better. And again, I'm just relating to my sister. I know that my sister had plans, and she was getting ready for her New Year's resolution. She was figuring a way to get away from her boyfriend. I talked to my sister. It was right before Thanksgiving was like the last conversation I had with her. I seen her at Thanksgiving, but we really didn't talk a whole lot. But I had to talk with her, and I told her, look, if you don't change your ways, like I was begging her to get in the car. I was willing to take her to anywhere, any rehab. I was like, I wanted to take her one out of state. But she's like, no, I got this. She's like, I got it. And she's like, I'm gonna be okay. I was like, look, if you don't change your ways, you're gonna end up dead. Like that was like our conversation. It ended up in a bad way, but it was like, these are my concerns. If you don't change anything, you're not gonna be here with us. And consequently, 3 weeks later, she's not there. But the night before she died, she was also talking to my mom and stuff. And because my mom and her, obviously those issues and stuff like that with the pills. But my sister was very adamant about it. She's like, I'm changing my life. New Year's is coming. She's like, I'm excited for Christmas. Like she had a bunch of Christmas gifts in her closet and stuff for people. So that's, again, my intention. I believe 100%. And I know 100% that she didn't do it on purpose. Yeah. But she was trying to make those changes. And it seems like, again, there's same in your situation, just like how you talked about, you made that choice. happened to be that you made that choice and you didn't follow through with it, it could have only been, it could have been only 1 more week. It could have been 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, and you wouldn't be here to tell your story. You wouldn't be here to do yoga and helping people with your coaching and stuff. All it would have took is that one time, and I mean, it's a huge blessing to have, because again, being able to be in your spot, you're able to go in and encourage those people that are going through it, even though you went through you're getting your bootleg rehab, like
we're going to have to start using that
right?
one. Yeah, we got a new term. Thank you, Melissa.
But going through that, like I said, it's very inspiring that you were able to make that choice, and I'm here taking a bunch of notes.
Yeah, I've got
some
too.
Like Alice said, talking, looking in the mirror and stuff. And I like using metaphors and stuff for like when I help people or I talk to people and stuff. And I like your mirror, when you talk about going to the mirror, and same thing, Al, with you, when you went to the mirror, and in the mirror, sometimes it's not exactly the reflection that you're seeing. It's the person that's buried behind that reflection. Mm-hmm. And that's who you're wanting to come out. That you're a good person, that you can do big things. That there's this deep person inside Melissa that wanting to do good, wanting to make a difference, wanting to not be this one that was suppressed by depression and pills and alcohol and all the shit going on in your life with your family. There was this beautiful flower wanting to bloom. And you could, again, using that metaphor, you could see it in the mirror. You can see it. Nobody else can. You see what's on the outside. Yeah. You seen that girl that was just dark and in a place like you needed to make that change. So asking God for help, and same thing for you, Al, and again, to Al's story, I love you. We've known each other for a long time, but you didn't tell me that story until Saturday. Yeah. I was like, when you told me that stuff, I was like, what? Wait a minute. So it was really cool though. Like it made, again, there's always something in there it's like, I like to relate this to Shrek. Right. Yeah. We gotta peel back the layers,
the onions,
people
right?
are like onions, not cake. No, onions, and but no, again, just commend you for what you're doing and where you've been. And I do believe too that those that have made that same attempt or made that mind that they were gonna make that change, they just didn't get on it quick enough, that it did take their lives. I do believe in a sense too that sometimes when it's your time, it's your time. You know what I mean? And like my sister on the medium side, and again, I'll get right back and just get the show back to you, but it was really huge after I talked to that medium, because she was in a place where she took complete control back of her life. Yep. She is control of her. She's very happy. She's helping people with those issues on that side, as well as she's able to help people on this side. Yep. And she's like, I've been all over the world. I get to help people. I encourage them. I'm that spirit. And then she talks about, she's around my kids all the time. She can't believe how fast they're growing up and all this stuff, like just a really good feeling. Like I miss my sister, but I know she's there, and God needed her more. There was something more. He needed her there more than we needed her. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so like, I feel like, again, under circumstances and stuff, it's a way that it's like, she's not suffering. She's not in that point of those negative mind or bad thoughts that come in. Yeah. She's in a place that's beautiful, and so she's helping people again with depression, with anxiety, with the things that she battled. And so, which is really cool, because it's what she wanted to do. So
that's such a beautiful and powerful story. And it's interesting that you talk about the medium, because, it took me years of these little mini moments of kind of being like, I have to change my life. I have to change my life. And thankfully I was given many of these mini moments, and to arrive in that moment with the mirror was like, okay, enough is enough. I'm done. But, kind of as the process started to happen of really changing my life, I remember, I also talked to a medium because I wanted to connect with my mom. And I didn't tell this woman anything. I mean, I don't know what.
That's how I was so skeptical. I was like, we're going to see if you're real. What can you tell me with me not saying anything? And you can't research me. You can't don't know my name, anything. Like I was very.
And the thing is that this literally, I mean, I can't even tell you how powerful this was, but she described, like, I knew I'd kind of had seizures and like overdosed and stuff. I just thought I was really resilient. But the first thing she said to me is she described when the angels pushed my body back into my soul. And she described the moment that I remember looking at my body on the ground because I left my body. And I remember that moment when I came back in and I went, and I just remember that so deeply. And that's exactly what she described.
Wow.
When she said that, I cried so hard. I can't even tell you, I lost it. I mean, I absolutely there was no words, because I knew I had been close. I knew that I had, kind of just been nonchalant around it. But when she actually told me, the angels pushed your body back into your soul. And I thought about that moment of one more time and actually leaving this world and not being here and leaving my family and leaving from an overdose after all that our family had gone through, and just like the guilt, all this, I mean, everything that came to me from this woman telling me that was the absolute final shift, like just the final wake up call to be like, I am no longer, like, we're done.
That was the aha moment.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that, I had, again, in the bootleg rehab, I had, was dating a gentleman who was the first person in my life. Like, we were drinking a lot. He was an alcoholic and we were kind of, doing drugs, but he was the first person to kind of like challenge me and be like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do all these things. And so he helped me kind of detox from the chemical drugs, and he would hold me and all the stuff. But as I started getting stronger, he was a very, very bad alcoholic, and he was a narcissist, and he was kind of abusive and controlling and all the stuff. So long story short, when I had that reading with this woman and my mom came through and basically she told me that they pushed my body back into my soul, I decided I'm not going to be with this person that's abusive and narcissistic. I don't give a shit what I need to do. I need to just heal my life, heal my soul. Like, I've been given a second gift, like, seriously, and I'm here to step into that. So
that is so cool. Okay. We're going to stop right here. We're going to go to a quick commercial, but when we come back, let's take off from there, because apparently now I wish the camera could zoom in because I got goosebumps again. Apparently this is when life started changing for you.
Yeah.
Right. You had that aha moment and now you're choosing a new path. And I want people to know, because you're living proof of it, Melissa, that you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be stuck. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back and hear the rest of the journey that Melissa's been on. Thank you, guys. Stay tuned.
How do you start your morning? Start it with a cup of High Point coffee. Because no matter where you go or what you do, it's always better with coffee. High Point coffee. What's your high point? Located on the corner of 7800 South and Redwood Road in West Jordan. And a special thanks goes out to our partners in Oxford, Mississippi.
This is Gregory, owner of Lift Up Concrete, proudly serving the Wasatch Front for the last 12 years, lifting sunken flatwork for both residential and commercial applications. Only fully trained professionals lifting concrete at your residence with the same quality of material and method used at every commercial job we ever do. Don't replace it, lift it. liftupconcrete.net, 801-792-4535. Contact us at liftupconcrete.net Or if you're looking for a complimentary quote, 801-792-4535. Again, 801-792-4535. Again, this is Gregory, Lift Up Concrete Lifting.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Other Side of Addiction. You got Al and JD here and our special guest from New Mexico. We have Melissa Christopher. Again, Melissa, thank you for your time. Before we get started on the second half to learn of this journey and to hear this journey that Melissa's went on after she got that aha moment, we want to take time to thank our audience. First of all, we want to say thank you for all your support. JD and I, we talked about it even over the weekend, and we're just like in awe of where this show is going. I mean, the support that we are getting from people, I'm still just shocked, to be honest with you. So listeners, thank you so much for believing in what we're doing. And we want to take time to also thank our sponsors. We have High Point Coffee out of West Jordan off 7800 South and Redwood. My good friends at Lift Up Concrete out of Kaysville, Utah. We've got Serve Pro, and we want to thank the Serve Pros from Ogden all the way down to St. George. We also have a huge support group from USARA, which is Utah Support Advocates for Recovery Awareness. Thank you guys so much for the booth at Recovery Day. We greatly appreciate it. JD and Charity and I and my wife, we just all had a great time. We also want to give out a huge thank you to Refiner Production. Cameron and Austin, guys, man, I tell you what, the quality of the videos that you guys come up with is superb. I mean, these guys just do great work. As a matter of fact, I just referred them to one of our past guests, Mallory Roosh out of St. George. She reached out and says, hey, I want to get a hold of these guys because I love what they did with your videos. And she's looking at having some videos done. So guys, thank you so much. Also want to say to one of our newest sponsors, Taffy Town. So for those of you that don't know it, Taffy Town is a 100-year-old company here in Salt Lake City. And they are huge supporters. So guys, thank you so much for your support. And we also do not want to forget to say thank you to Brad Neufeld, the owner of
Resilient.
Thank you. Gosh, I just went blank. Man, I've been with him long enough. Yeah, good. He goes blank too. So yes, with Resilience Talk Network. Brad, thank you for opening up your arms and your love and kindness and allowing us to use your studio and believing in what we're doing here as well. All right. Now that we've got a few of those, because we got more sponsors to talk about, we'll mention them a little bit later in the show. So before a break, Melissa, you were talking about you had that aha moment. You knew you didn't want to continue to go down this life. You were in a relationship with somebody who was an alcoholic, narcissist, but he also kind of gave you the choice, excuse me, of saying, you don't have to do this, but something hit you and you decided to take off down a whole different road. share that story, because after reading your bio to see everything that you're doing, and it amazes me of how many people that we talk to, how many people that we have on the show, that basically life was shit for them, and some worse than others, but they found a way with God's help or a higher power, however they want to look at it, to dig themselves out. And now they're out there and inspiring, and they're helping other people who have gone through exactly, because who knows better? I mean, if an alcoholic talked to me, I don't understand what they're saying. If somebody that's on the other side of addiction, we bond because we know exactly what's hurting us. Share that journey, how it started and where you're at right now, because I know you just finished a book, if I'm not mistaken, and you were with 6 other gals, I believe, 6 other gals that you guys all kind of combined and shared your stuff. But share that with our audience. I mean, you've been on a hell of a journey, and you're doing some incredible things right now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think, like I said, there was many kind of aha moments that led to that one in the mirror, which finally made me kind of change my life. And then when I went up to Idaho, I think I just had this level of surrender of saying, what I'm doing is not gonna, has it worked? And I can't do this anymore. And then when I met, when I started working on this feature film, the director and the writer of the film was almost like this earth angel, in a sense that, he was the first person to kind of see me and call me on my shit.
Wow.
And say, like, actually talk about consequences, or like, hey, you can't treat me like that, or hey, you need to be a better person, or all the things. And it was more like jealousy, kind of controlling at the time, but it was something that I think I needed to hear and understand. And so, like I said, because it was the bootleg rehab path, we drank a lot and, did kind of cocaine sometimes, but he was like this force that came into my life. And I remember we came back to Santa Fe to finish out the film, and I was kind of trying to go out and, do cocaine and stay out all night and do all the same stuff I had been doing. And he just wasn't having it. He's like, you can't treat me like this, da, 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 da. And, you don't have to do this anymore, Mel. And I think him offering me the support, maybe to just hold me when I was having my night sweats, having my nightmares, walking through this really, really intense darkness and fire, was the love and support I think I kind of wanted, even though it was kind of toxic and not the best, but in that moment, it was what I needed, I think. And so as I started to heal, I really decided I needed to do a lot of internal work, because that was what I had run from my whole life. So I really dove into getting professional help. I went to see a therapist, and we went deep every single session. I think I saw her twice a week, and started getting to the root cause of why I was running, why I felt so unworthy, so undeserving. And I truly believe that with addiction, because I see it within myself, that if you can do that deeper healing, that inner work to get to the root of where it started, it can be healed. I really believe that. And I think, so when I started just diving in and healing and doing all this stuff, then I realized that, this relationship was unhealthy, and he was a really, really bad alcoholic and crazy narcissist. And he almost died a few times from alcoholism. And actually, it's so funny, because I took him to AA. I was taking him to AA. But when I walked in the rooms of AA, again, kind of in that moment, it was like, wow, I need this more than he does, drinking's kind of the final piece. And so I actually that day, again, kind of felt like a divine something came, because I brought him to a meeting. But actually, I decided that I was going to get a sponsor. I decided I was going to work the program, and decided that I was going to commit to it. And, he stays sober for a week, and I decided that I was going to do this thing. So, yeah, it was just a really interesting process, I think, of, being led to a certain amount of healing. He helped me with that. And then really internally doing so much deeper work to say, this relationship played a purpose in my life, but I'm not going to be around an alcoholic. This is not who I want to be anymore. I need to look at my own shit.
Yeah.
And he has very much stayed in the same patterns, self-sabotage, anger, all the stuff, because he won't look at his addictions, but I have no control over that, and that's fine. But I really kind of decided to move forward after that.
Good for you. I mean, yeah, I've seen my wife do the same thing. I've seen my wife shift, and I was sharing that in my talk yesterday, that we've been together 15 years, and it's almost like I'm dating a new person.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
really every day.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's exaggerating a little bit. Not every day, but I would say probably almost every week, I'm seeing something new come out in her. I'm seeing that confidence in her going, I am worth it, and I am lovely, and I'm beautiful, and I've got a lot to give. And when we were talking to a young lady not too long ago who she's talked about suicide and different things. And my wife saying, hey, do you mind if I jump in and share a few things? I'm thinking, damn, girl, this is freaking awesome. Because the stuff she was sharing was basically giving me goosebumps, because I'm like, I've never seen this from her. Just watching her take that path.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even tell you, I cannot even tell you how I feel like I just said, if you really, truly, and deeply can do the inner work to get to the root of your addiction, or why you feel where it started, where it came from, where that pain is, that abandonment, that loneliness, that unworthiness, I don't think a lot of people really have that opportunity, which I think is why AA is such a beautiful program, because it is that support for people. It is that it's that healing for people, even if they can't, go to a therapist twice a week and really dive into that deeper work. It is kind of it's a form of that healing, because going through the steps, it's like you begin to get to the root. You begin to understand what's happening. You have to become a totally new person, or not a new person, but you gotta, learning who you are in sobriety was one of the biggest awakenings of my life. I was like, whoa. And, I since, I'm not actively in the program anymore, but when I was, it changed my life. It absolutely, I can't even tell you the layers of understanding who I was, and releasing all this resentment and blame and pain and anger that I put on everybody else about my addictions, when yes, there was a piece to it that other people played in it. Don't get me wrong, that, I wish I had more support, or someone saw me, or someone saved me. But at the end of the day, I really realized that I had to take responsibility. I had to do the work. I had to forgive. I had to release this resentment, even against my crazy stepmom, even against my dad. All this dark pain that I'd been holding in my heart for so long was driving me to addiction. And so when I went and worked the program and got sober for a year and a half, all this stuff, and it almost just allowed all of this heaviness to be released, to go away. And that was the greatest gift I ever could have had.
Yeah, it's like all this weight falls off, and it's almost like you're in a zero gravity chamber where you just kind of start feeling yourself float. I mean, to be able to admit to your own actions, taking accountability, but also being able to forgive as well. I mean, I was on a podcast quite a few months ago, and at the very end of the podcast, the host of the podcast said, what is one thing that you learned from everything that you have just gone through. And it took me a minute to think of it. And when it popped into my head, it was so strong. And I said, forgiveness.
Yep.
And he's like, forgiveness. And I'm like, yeah, I had to learn forgiveness because everything, and again, I'm not blaming everything on my wife because I was a huge part of it as well. But all the stuff that my wife said to me and all the stuff that happened and all the shit that I went through, if I would have hung on to that, we wouldn't be where we're at right now during her 9 months of sobriety. We would still be living during those dark times.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn how to forgive that. And of course she's taken accountability for her actions. I've taken accountability for my actions as well, because again, wasn't all her, So yeah, that and we had a guest on the show out of Canada, Tamar, and she basically mentioned she thinks that everybody should go through the 12-step program. And I would have to pretty much agree with her because of all the AA meetings that I've gone to with my wife and heard people talk, share their stories. All of us, I think, can learn a lot more about ourselves. I mean, when I had my time and was asking God, for his help, and I lost my job, and I decided at that time that I wanted to figure out who I was as a person. I thought I was a pretty good person.
Oh yeah.
Until I started talking to people and they started sharing. And these were good friends, and they started kind of opening up that they didn't trust me. And like, trust me, hell, I've never stole from you. Well, that's not the trust that they were talking about.
Yeah.
It's what I would say, how I would do different things, and I'm like, man, that hurts.
Yeah.
I can't believe they look at me that way, because I looked in the mirror and I saw this freaking incredible guy,
We had this talk.
Yeah, we just had this talk.
We had this talk.
Yes, we did about a week ago, but yeah. And your journey, now look where your journey's at. We're all learning constantly more about ourselves, but you have learned so much about yourself. You feel good about yourself. Probably, I mean, I don't know how long it's been since you've been on this journey, but probably for the first time that you have your whole flipping life from the age of 5 being told your mom committed suicide because of you, and going through everything that you've gone through,
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because it's amazing now to kind of understand like the mind and the patterns and like they talk about like shadow work and kind of like these parts of ourselves and these identities. And, a big piece of work that I do with my clients and my coaching is called inner child work. And this work I cannot even tell you how powerful, because it goes back to these wounded parts of ourselves, that like for me, when I did this work with a coach, it was going back to that 5-year-old that just wanted unconditional love. And when I was brought back to this memory to see this little girl that was so traumatized and so afraid, and to kind of me go and be able to give her that love, that unconditional love, that hug, that motherhood that she just wanted so deeply. I mean, I cannot even explain how powerful it was, that it again kind of was like a lightning bolt. Like, this is the work that I have to do, because I think all of us are wounded in our lives. There's not a human in this world that hasn't gone through some trauma, some pain, something. But when I became a coach and realized I've been an actress for a long time. And, when I do film or television, sure, I have stage fright. I thought that was just kind of normal. But when I started to become a coach and being called to like share my story and make videos of just me, I cannot tell you how much fear I had. Oh my God, I would sweat. I'd want to throw up. It was crazy. It was bad. And so I started to get really curious, like, why is this here? Why is there so much fear here? So then I started to really dedicate myself again to the inner healing, the deeper journey. I think with every layer, like you guys are talking about, onions, one layer gets healed and then another layer comes back. One layer gets healed and then another layer comes back. And when I started doing this kind of inner child work and connecting to this part of me that was told, that little 5-year-old that was told, you need to shut up, you're worthless, you're stupid, that was literally, it's kind of like a guided meditation, inner child work. You kind of go back into your subconscious and connect to these parts, and just seeing this part of me that was basically locked in the dark, told that she can't come out, told, all this stuff, that was where the fear was coming from. And so when I was able to reconnect to her and give her that love, give her that support, give her that confidence, that unconditional love and support, my whole life just again started to really transform. And I became dedicated to, because it was so powerful and would change people's lives so quickly, that was like my mission. Like, okay, this is the work that I need to do because it is powerful and it's healing and it's very transformative.
That is so cool. So what I'm picturing as you're saying all this, and I believe the same for even like JD and I and some of our guest co-hosts and our guests that have come on. We've gone through what we've gone through in our life for a reason.
Yep.
God put us on that path.
Yep.
And thank goodness for the graces of him, he kept us here.
Yep.
Knowing we were going to be the one to also step into a whole different realm to start helping people who have gone through what we've gone through.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing so much of that. And it's just, we don't watch the news in our house. We don't want the negativity because they fill you full of so much shit.
Yeah.
We want to look at the world. Yes, it's things are tough right now and it's nasty out there, but it's not all nasty because everything is equal. You got your good, the bad, the light, the dark, everything is equal. There's just as many good people out there as there is bad. So to see people overcome with what you have come through, Melissa, and just go, man, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to make other people feel the way that I have felt and get them to realize they deserve to be here in this world and they deserve to be loved, not by just other people, but loved by themselves, because we are our own biggest critics. Like you said, with doing self-tapes and stuff, because I have to do self-tapes. You and I talked about it a little bit. I dabble in it just a little bit. I'm not as big as you, that's for sure. But I remember going to a class, and the gentleman who did the class with us, he gave us some affirmations, and it was on a pamphlet like this. And he says, I want you to go home and I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to stare yourself square in the eye and I want you to say these affirmations, memorize them. I'm like, okay. And then he says, when you come back next week, I want to hear your stories. Oh shit, this is a piece of cake, because Al Richards, I'm confident. Okay. I went there, went home, went over them, got to where I'm memorizing them. I think I shared this before, and I don't know if it was a day or 2 or 3 days afterwards, but I realized every time I went to say, like, I am good, or I am wonderful, or different things like that, I was looking away and then looking back, looking away and looking back. And I caught myself doing, I realized, and I'm like, I ain't as freaking confident as I thought I was. Because if I was, I would stare myself right in the eye. So I'm not believing what I'm thinking I'm believing. And it took me some time to get to where I could actually, every single day that I did that, to where I could honestly say I looked at myself square in the eye when I said those things.
That's so interesting that you say that, because that's one thing that I use with my clients as well. And it's so, because in my own process, I remember, I think it was a therapist or maybe a coach along the way, and I could not say to myself, I love you. Couldn't say it. I couldn't say, I love you, I forgive you. And I couldn't say it in the mirror. I could not look at myself for years and just hold my gaze and say, I love you. I forgive you. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You're everything. I love you so much. I kept trying to do it every day. It probably took me I would avoid it for years. And then I finally just said, nope, I'm not doing this. And I actually decided, okay, I'm going to try to do this every single day. And so I did it every day, probably for like 3 months. And it took me about the 3-month mark before I could really sit with myself and just look at myself and say, I love you. I love you. I forgive you. I love you. I forgive you. And that, when I said that, it actually caught my eyes. Again, coming back to the mirror thing, but seeing a totally different person in front of me this time. And just forgiving myself was a really, really, really powerful moment in my life that I love to use that same process with the women that I work with, because so many times they won't look at themselves. They don't know how to connect to themselves. And so I like to find what's the hardest thing for them to say. And most of the time it's, I love you. A lot of times it's, I'm not good enough. Whatever the thing is that's the hardest for them to say, then I make them commit to going in front of the mirror and reversing it and saying, I am enough. I am worthy and deserving. I am beautiful. I love myself, whatever that is, and flipping it over and really having that process with them. And it's not easy. It's hard.
I bet you a lot of these women that you work with, if it was somebody other than themselves that saw somebody else going through that pain, I bet they'd be the first ones to put their arms around them and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You're great. You've got this. But like you said, when you're looking at your own self, why is it so freaking hard? And here I am even kind of getting emotional talking about, why is it so hard for us to love our own selves? Why are we're good with everybody else, but when it comes to ourselves, man, we beat ourselves up so bad, and so bad at times where we do fall into addiction, or we fall into another dark spot, yeah.
I don't know. I think we want to be I think every person or human or soul just wants to be recognized, wants that validation, wants to know that they're enough, wants to know they're good, wants to know that they're going to succeed, or it's kind of like, but when you think about like caveman times, and like, you have to, only the strong survive, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this internal, I think almost like evolutionary thing where I don't know about you guys, but I have put so much pressure on myself to try to be good, to try to be great and all this stuff. And I realized that was actually just working so against me. It's not that you can't want to be better. It's not that you can't want to strive to be great and good, but you really, beating yourself up is so against helping you to do that,
Yeah.
Well, I think with that too, talking about striving, because, I run into that where like sometimes I won't get things done or won't do things because it's got to be perfect, right? Like that's my head. It's like, nope, that ain't right. So I can't start it, So it's like, there's that saying out there, like, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great, right? Become great. And so, and talking about that, a lot of people will hold on their reservations, they'll fall back into their addictions, or they'll have those things that they fall into because they're scared of becoming almost who they want to be, but then it's the same thing and I've had that moment where it's like I want to be that person where I want to go with my goals and my dreams. And it scares me sometimes because like you feel like there's just certain things that come around you that you don't feel like you deserve it.
It's that fear, huh?
So
yeah. That's a big one, of feeling like you deserve it. And it's, man, I've had to go back like so many times, because it's amazing what the subconscious really holds on to. I've gotten really interested in just understanding like that we have our conscious mind, but then the subconscious mind is really based in like survival and protection. And so that fear or unworthiness or deserving, it's like, it's, you know, fear of feeling like you don't deserve it is this for some reason, in some way, it's to try to wire you out of protection, you know, because at some point, you know, if you, let's say like you made more money or, you know, you're, you know, like there's this fear of, well, if I make more money, I'm going to lose my parents because they worked all the time or whatever. That was like my thing, because, you know, I've had to really look at these beliefs, these limiting beliefs, these core things surrounding money or, you know, being cast in a movie or TV shows, because way underneath all the levels was this belief that, you know, like my dad had to work all the time. And so his love, like he didn't give me the love that I wanted because he was working all the time. And so if I achieve more financially or this and that, then that means that I'm not going to have the love I deserve. It's like, it's just this whole process of kind of like detangling like where these things kind of come from and rewiring the brain, the subconscious, to allow yourself to feel safe so that you can receive more, so that you can follow your dreams. Because I know, I mean, it took me, again, the bootleg rehab thing, drugs and addiction, but the career piece was probably the hardest piece for me to really, well, I mean, one of the harder pieces for me. So I did the drugs and the alcohol and kind of got through it. And then there was always this deep knowing, like I wanted to help people. I wanted to be of service, but I was, you know, a bartender working in restaurants, felt so unfulfilled for such a long time in that career. And I think that, you know, I remember my sister ended up in the psych ward. She ended up in the hospital dealing with bipolar, and she actually went through sobriety. And because all of a sudden she didn't have the vices that were kind of connected to dealing with her bipolar, she just really, it just all the trauma just came into a pretty intense way. So long story short, seeing her in the hospital was another kind of wake up call, where it was like, you know, seeing these people in the psych ward, seeing these people that had no choice in life and their mental health had just, or, you know, or just wherever they were, was again, just like, all right, this is another push from the universe, from God. Like, you're unhappy in your career. If you've always had these dreams of doing something different and actually listening to your voice, your truth, what the hell do you want in your life? You know, let go of all the expectation. What do you want? Going into that hospital that day finally made me be like, all right, I'm quitting the industry once and for all. I've wanted to be a yoga teacher for years. I'm going to go get my training. This is happening. And so I just, you know, booked a flight down to Mexico and lived in a tent for a month.
Wow.
Got my yoga teacher certification and my Reiki master's certificate. And then a few months later, just decided I was going to do the coaching thing, even though it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I finally gave myself permission to listen to my heart's calling and to truly do what was in there, instead of listening to all the fear, all the expectation, all the stuff, because I realized life is very short, you know?
Well, with that said too, you know, going through everything that you have gone through to lead up to you getting your yoga certification, your coaching certifications, and being able to help people. And this is something that I believe, because it's the same thing. You've been on this journey for a long time, right? Battling this inner self, and same thing with you, Al. You know, I think that in time and stuff, like, I'm like, why, like, I felt like I had this purpose to help people a long time ago, probably the same thing as you and same thing as you, Al, right? You know, and we're talking 10, 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But on it, I don't feel like we had been through the things that we had to be through to truly help people. So God had to also put those things in our path so that when we got to the point that we're here, where we are now, we're on this show, we're sharing our stories, you're helping people through your coaching and through your yoga, and just being able to relate to them personally. If you hadn't have gone through those experiences and you hit this path sooner, you wouldn't have the University of Hard Knocks, or again, bootleg rehab, you know,
We're using that a lot.
to be able to truly relate or resonate with people, like I've had to go through a bunch of shit where I'm like, God, like we could have fucking skipped all this, excuse my language, but
we could
like,
have.
I'm like, I would have been completely fine to like skip all of these parts. That would have been great. But that's the thing is then I wouldn't appreciate what we're doing as much. I wouldn't feel that love like I do, I mean, I would be happy. I love helping people, always have. But the fact of where it's at now because of the stuff that we've gone through, and it's not to say that we're perfect. We're still going through things. You still have things in your life, Melissa, that come up that, that sometimes you probably still have those days where you're like, all right, okay, and I know Al does the same thing, and I do too, Al, you have the, obviously stuff with you in your marriage. You've probably got stuff with you and your relationships and stuff, Same thing with me and my wife. I'm like,
grabbing the white towel, right?
It's hard because we're human. That's the thing too, is like to resonate and put off to people and stuff. Like we're not that, we're on our journey still. We're not that fully developed Melissa or Al or JD. We want to be that, but also too, that's where it makes it real. We're real. We still go through our challenges. We're still battling our issues and stuff that we have that we still have to overcome every single day. We're not human. It's not like we just got it. Now we're writing a book and we're going to give everybody the roadmap and take this turn here, take this turn there, make sure you avoid this at all costs. Cause we can promise you it's going to hurt, So, but no, like that's part of the journey and people have to go through those things. People, like, again, it's the same thing. We can't relate to people, or we can relate to them, but to fully relate, like sometimes those people, it's like having kids, right? Our kids, we can teach them and we want to teach them from our own experiences, but sometimes you just have to let your child go through it so they can learn that lesson for themselves.
Yeah. I like to say that, transformation and growth is not a destination. It's a forever.
There you go.
It's forever a process. I don't think we ever reach like not even the end goal, but I don't think we ever really reach that point of like completion until we move on into the next iteration, next reincarnation. And even at that point, we're still going. I don't know if you ever,
right. No, and I believe that with the time that we're here on this earth with our physical bodies we have now and stuff, at the end of the day, I mean, I want us to all be able to go at the end of our lives that when that time comes, we can look back and be like, we did what we were supposed to do and we didn't hold back, or have those regrets. I was talking to Al about this and we'll go back to you, but again, we're just talking about the wealthiest place in the world. And I love this, but do you know what it is? Do you know where the wealthiest place in the world is, Melissa?
I'm going to say within yourself, within your family and friends. I don't know.
So that's close. It's close. I mean, it actually goes broad, but like when I ask people like where the wealthiest place in the world is, a lot of people be like, oh, the United States or Dubai or China or whatever. Right. The truth is like the wealthiest place in the world. It's the whole world, but it's the graveyards in our whole world. Because people have gone there with regret. They die. They didn't do something that could have changed something or have done things to make life better for others. They were afraid to speak out. And so with that, again, like you talk about this journey and hitting our end goals, our goals just keep, goals keep moving, right?
Yeah. There's no finish line.
There's not. But the biggest thing is you got to make sure is that while you're here and the time that we're here, that when we do hit that endpoint, we're not looking back and having the I shoulda, woulda, couldas, right? We want to know that I don't want to sit there on my bed and have my kids up by me or anybody, my wife or whatever, and be like, did you have any regrets? Or do you wish you would have done something different?
Yeah, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that, because I can't even tell you how much fear and doubt and all the things have come up for me in this process. I mean, the first time I taught a yoga class, I thought I was going to pass out. I mean, seriously, I was so afraid to be in front, like to be a teacher, to lead somebody through this practice, because of my past, of my childhood. Like it literally took everything I had to just get through it. And sometimes, even though I help women with visibility, there's still sometimes where I just get so afraid, like what, am I saying the right thing? When I wrote my book, I honestly, that process was so intense because I had never spoken about the abuse I had gone through with my stepmom. publicly, really. And I told a story in there that's pretty hard to read and, intense. And I kept being like, do I do this? Do I not? And I just remember there was so much of that past programming, that doubt, that fear, that, just all the voices, all the stuff that I used to listen to, that used to keep me from everything, that used to drive me to addiction. Because I've done so much healing and just work to recognize it now, I just kind of, had to really take a deep breath. In moments of just overwhelm, I kept coming back and saying, this is bigger than you. You have to, you didn't go through all this for no reason. Like, this is bigger than you. You have to this is your process. This is your path. Even when I reached out to you, Al, to be on this show, I was fucking terrified. Like, I have never talked about my addiction ever before. What am I doing? But I just feel this like momentum, this like snowball that I just keep saying yes. And even though it's scary and overwhelming, I know in my heart, I didn't go through all the things I went through in my life to keep it all inside. There's a purpose here to help people, and just not allowing that, those voices, that, younger self, that fear to control my life anymore has been a great gift. And it's still present. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I think just having that awareness, because, it sounds like all of us have done, work to understand, like, to not allow that fear, that doubt, that stuff to just stop us from really kind of stepping into helping others. And that's a beautiful gift.
It is. It's definitely a beautiful gift. Okay, we're gonna break here real quick for another commercial break, and then we're gonna come back. And when we come back, Melissa, I'm sure we've got some listeners who want to know more about you. When we get back, please share how they can find you, how they can find your book, because I believe your book has launched already. Am I not mistaken? So
yes, we hit bestsellers, which is amazing. We hit international bestsellers in like 4 categories.
Oh, that
in
is
like day
that
one
is
of
so
selling
cool.
the book. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, so let's get that out. So guys,
I was gonna say that's pretty life-changing. We've been talking about writing a book and getting books out for a long time, and that process, it's always one of those ones, like, we get started, it's like, shit.
Oh yeah, that was it was a real life-changing process. But again, kind of put it out to something bigger than myself and set the intention, like, look, I really want to write a book. God, universe, help me create this, because there's no way I know how to do this. And kind of the co-author thing came to fruition, which I think is a beautiful way to start, because it was a bunch of other women kind of going through it together, and I was held in a container so that we were kind of guided through the process of all the ups and the downs and the doubt and all the stuff. But we did it. So
It's awesome.
That's awesome. Okay. We're going to be right back, guys. Stay tuned so you can hear how to contact Melissa.
Hi, this is Tamara K. Anderson, and I want to share something special with you. When our son Nathan was diagnosed with autism, I felt like the life we had expected for him was ripped away, and with it, my own heart shattered as well. It's very common for families to feel anger, pain, confusion, and anxiety when a child is diagnosed. This is where my book, Normal for Me, comes into play. It shares my story of learning to replace my pain with acceptance, peace, joy, and hope. Normal for Me has helped change many lives, and I'd like to give this book to as many families as possible. We've put together something I think is really special. My friends and listeners can order copies of my book at a significantly discounted price, and we will send them to families who have just had a child diagnosed with autism or another special needs diagnosis. We will put your name inside the cover so they will know someone out there loves them and wants to help. I will also sign each copy. You can order as little as 1 or as many as hundreds to be shared with others. So go to my website, tamarakanderson.com, and visit the store section for more information and to place your order. You can bless the lives of many families by sending them hope, love, and peace. Check it out today at tamarakanderson.com and help me spread hope to the world.
Welcome to the Resilience Talk Network. My name is Jay Walter, and I'm the host of Rebuilding. Heard every weekday night from 6 to 7 p.m. You can listen in and learn how to face your fears, overcome obstacles, and make dreams a reality. So listen every weekday night from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Resilience Talk Network.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the other side of addiction. Al and JD here, and our special guest, Melissa Christopher out of New Mexico. Man, this has been a great show, Melissa. Again, thank you so much for your time. Before we wrap this up, there are a few more sponsors that we want to thank. We want to thank I Am Powered Ninja Real Estate out of West Jordan. We've got also Fitness Realty and Advanced Business Books, who is a bookkeeping company, Tatiana Rose. So guys, thank you so much for your support. Again, to our listeners, again, to Brad, Resilience Talk Network. Thank you all for your kindness, your love. Please do not stop sending the messages. The messages that we're getting on social media and through text are just, it's just incredible. So, all right. Well, Melissa, you have had one hell of a journey, girl. And I mean, life is okay. I mean, as we were sharing before the break, there is no finish line. I think the finish line is the day that God decides to take us back home. But we're always moving forward to get to a next level. If we're not, that stagnation, I think, is what starts leading us down some really bad paths, whatever that may be. Yeah. But you've had some amazing things happen to you. You're a coach, yoga, Reiki. I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff. You're helping hundreds of women, which I think is just great. You're a blessing. You're a blessing to each and every one of them because you have lived it. You have gone through it. It's not like you just read it in a book. You've been down the road. You know what it takes to get through. So thank you for doing what you are doing to help other people. So for our listeners who want to know more about Melissa, where can they find you? And please share a little bit more about this book too that you have worked on.
Thank you so much, Al, again, for being on the show. I just feel so honored. Like I said, NJD, this is the first time that I've really, candidly spoken about my drug addiction and past. And I'm really proud to have shared this experience with you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're honored as well.
Yeah, I think so. This book is called Journey to Myself. It launched on Amazon a few weeks ago. As I said, we became international bestsellers, and it's a collection of, I think, 11 women's deeply honest and transformational stories. So you can find it on Amazon. And it was just such an experience of not allowing the faith or the doubt or the fear to stop me. And when we each wrote a chapter in this book, and I kind of had thought about writing something for such a long time. And again, kind of, as I mentioned before the break, of giving it over to a higher power, asked for guidance of how to do that. And when this book came into fruition of a co-author situation, and this woman kind of being our fearless leader and helping us through the process of fear and doubt and all the things, I jumped on it. And especially because it was talking about deep transformation and healing. So it's a very inspiring book. All of the women's stories are so beautiful, so different. So please check that out. Again, that is Journey to Myself on Amazon. And if you would like to connect with me about, healing your inner child, your wounds, and really, stepping into your gifts and your greatness, you can find me on Facebook under Melissa Christopher, and also on Instagram. My coaching Instagram is melissa.a.christopher. And I believe my website is, yes, melissachristopher.com.
Okay.
And I would be honored, just even to talk to you if this is resonating with you at all, of, always feeling like you have more to give, always feeling like there's something deep inside of you, but that fear, that doubt, that whatever has stopped you, I'm here to tell you that, your gifts, your story matter, and that it's your time to truly step into that without fear, and you don't have to do it alone. One thing I wish is that I would have had somebody help me and guide me and show me and give me the love and support to have permission to do what I'm doing now a long time ago. But I have gone through it to be able to support and give you that permission now. So if you feel like this resonates, please reach out to me. I would be honored and deeply blessed to support you in this process of shining your light, stepping forward.
Man, thank you so much. I was going to ask you what you could share with anybody on the show of what you've learned, but I think you just hit the nail right on the head with everything you just said. Unless you have something else, if there was some kind of advice or a suggestion that you could give to somebody that's listening to this show, do you have something that you could share with that?
Yeah, I think what I will leave everyone with is that we all have greatness within us, and that everything we've gone through in our life, as we said on this show multiple times, has really prepared us, even if it's been hard, even if it's been challenging, to arrive in this moment. And I believe the greatest gift and why we're all here in this world is to help and serve others in whatever aspect that might be. And so I just want to leave you with, you matter and you are enough. You are enough to create your dreams in this world, to live a life that you love, to have that relationship that you dream of, to make more money, whatever that is for you. You are enough, and you're worthy and deserving to allow it and receive it in your life. And this is coming from somebody who was, broken, drug addicted. I hated myself, had horrible relationships, absolutely just devastated in my life, until I gave myself that gift of learning to forgive myself, learning to love myself, and learning to see the hardest moments in my life as my greatest gifts.
Wow.
And that obviously has taken me a very long time, but I do see them as my greatest gifts because it's made me the woman I am today. And to be able to sit here in front of you both today and share my story truly feels like one of the greatest gifts of my life. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. And what a powerful message there at the end. Very, very powerful. And I mean, knowing that you matter and that you are enough, that goes for everybody. JD and I are just looking at each other eye to eye, and we both have tears in our eyes with what you just said. So I'm not ashamed to say it because the people watching this can't see us, but yeah, we both have tears in our eyes just because you just hit something that resonated with both of us. So thank you so much for reaching out to me and having this opportunity for Brad and JD and myself to get to know you and get to know who you are as a person. And I know everybody in this room here on this side, we love surrounding ourselves with positive, good-minded people who care about others. It's one of the reasons why we started this show is we wanted to get this message out, and we wanted people to know no matter what you're going through in life, there's a way out. There's definitely a way out. And it's proof. We've had guest after guest on this show that has proven that you can get yourself out of any situation. And You said it a little bit ago. You wished that you could have had some help, and really, we can't do it alone. I mean, we can't. That's why you're doing what you're doing, because you can't do it alone. You're helping those other ladies that don't know where to turn and not where to go. Don't know where to go. I wish I would have known more about different places to go to help me while my wife was in the darkest part of her alcoholism. I thought there was just Al-Anon, that's all I thought there was. And now here, after doing all this, I'm finding out there's all kinds of different places that you could go to.
And different communities and stuff. That's the other thing, is having the communities to be able to plug in, a community of people that have been there and, have hit the bottom and thought, the alternative to get out of it was not a good alternative, and but seeing people that have been to that point and then decided that, nope, I'm gonna go after it again. I'm gonna rise above this. I'm gonna go out there. And those that have gone through that road, talking to some people up there at the alumni, but just people they're in the system, people that have done time in prison and that have completely turned around their lives and own businesses, and they're doing things that are different and stuff, where people are like, it just shows that it is possible. You don't have to do it alone. There are people out there that want you to win.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Melissa, thank you again. My gosh, thank you.
Day. Wow. I will remember this day for the rest of my life. You guys, thank you so much. Seriously.
Thank you again, Melissa, for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. One thing that we talk about here on the show as well, even though JD and I, we've kind of been on the similar paths, and some of our guests have been on different paths, but this is healing for us as well. It's very, very healing for us, and it helps us understand things a little bit more, because we don't know what it's like to be on that other side. We will never understand fully. But just to even know a little bit, it helps our journey and helps us with our loved ones who are battling or who have been going through it. So thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story with us, because it takes a lot of guts for people that come on the show to say, look, this is how my life was. And I just shared today on the show for the first time a little bit of what I was doing on my weekends. I've come out and just said, hey, well, this was me, so it's healing for all of us. So thank you again. Guys, check out our book on Amazon. Get on Amazon, get that book ordered, and reach out to Melissa if you have any questions or if you would like some help. So audience, again, thank you for being here. JD, thank you for being here. Brad, thank you for everything that you do. I mean, you're busting your butt doing a lot of different things, and you are here helping us every way in any way possible. And thank you again.
Gentlemen. Thank you again. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, my dear. So we're going to end you with this, as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. Thank you, guys.